Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible game from round 2 of this year's Superbet Poland Rapid and Blitz tournament. We are currently in the Rapid section and it's Kirill Shevchenko, originally from Ukraine but now as of 2023 representing Romania versus Praggnanandhaa. And in the round 1, Kirill defeated Gukesh and it was a really weird game. I will just show you the critical moment of that game, so let's just... open that up. So this is the position that I wanted to discuss before we check out the Prague versus Kirill game. So Gukesh is white here, and this is the position. His position is slightly better, but he has to play queen to e2 in order to maintain some sort of pressure. But he played queen to d3. He offered a queen in order to deliver checkmate, rook d8, check king g7, and then h6, sort of checkmate. The problem is the knight here is guarding the h6 square. Maybe he thought he has some bishop to e5 action as well. But the problem is Kirill just captured his queen, and after rook to e8 with check king g7 and h6, there's really nothing to be done here. Kirill played knight captures on h6, and Gukesh just resigned because there is no checkmate and he's down a queen. So that's what happened in round 1 for Kirill. And now let's see what happened in round 2 against... the other very strong Indian player, Praggnanandhaa. And Kirill is the bottom seed of the event. He is the lowest rated player, so any win that he gets goes a long way. So let's check it out. Kirill has white and he opens with the d4. We have knight to f6, pawn to c4, e6, asking, are you maybe interested in a nice Nimzo Indian? But no, Kirill is not. He plays knight to f3, goes for the anti-Nimzo. Bishop to b4 check, going for the Bogo-Indian defense, and knight b to d2. We have castles, and now just pawn to a3, kicking away the bishop. Bishop captures on d2, Prague immediately trades bishop for knight, captures, and pawn to d6. We have g3, queen to e7, and now bishop to g2. We have pawn to e5, and castles. And the position has been reached before. There are some e4 moves have been played here. Pawn to c5 has been played here. Pawn to h6, I think even knight to c6. But the move that Prague played has never been played before. He plays bishop to g4. And it is now, as of move 9, that we have a completely new game. And also, with his bishop to g4 move, Prague commits a terrible blunder. Or, you know, so Kirill thought, and he was right. Of course, you could look at it many different ways, as this is rapid chess, so maybe, you know, compensation can be considered different in rapid than in classical, but objectively, this is a bad move. So feel free to pause the video already on move 9 and try to find refutation while I give you a couple of seconds. The move you were looking for is knight captures on e5. It looks like something that should not be possible here, but it is, due to the queen and rook being on the same diagonal, and bishop to b4 is the way to go. Of course, if you constantly think about the b4 square, no doubt you solved this pretty much instantly, but now you have to take the knight, otherwise you've just given up the e5 pawn. So the captures and bishop to b4. But is it really worth it, giving up knight and bishop for this rook on f8 that isn't doing all that much? Well, let's see. First, pawn to c5 by Prague. This is definitely the way to go. We have bishop captures, and now queen to c7. We have bishop captures on f8, king captures, and only now d captures on e5. And now you see that it's somewhat problematic for Prague to move his pieces around. He cannot capture here because bishop captures on b7 would also win the rook on a8. So the knight has to move. We have knight to e8, and now pawn to f4. And okay, Kirill does have a rook for 2 pieces, which is... well, should be better for Prague, but Prague still needs to develop his pieces. So, okay, knight to c6, queen to c2, goes after the h7 pawn. Also, the king is a little bit weak. So, pawn to g6, you could also move the king, for example, king to g8, but Prague decides that the g6 is the better move, as it stops further expansion on the king side by some h3, g4, maybe f5 ideas. So instead, he plays pawn to g6, and now rook 8 to d1. Queen b6 check, we have pawn to c5, and now queen to b5, putting pressure on the e2 pawn. So Kirill just defends it, rook to d2, we have knight to g7, and now pawn to e4. preparing pawn to f5, knight to e6, and now pawn to b4. And now look at this beautiful setup that Kirill created here. If Pragg doesn't have a way of breaking through this, this will just hold forever. So knight e to d4, of course, putting a knight on the nice central square, attacking the queen, and queen to b2, putting pressure on the knight. So you might even consider giving back the rook to take both of the knights, but rook to d8. Of course, Pragg will not allow that. Pawn to h3, challenging the bishop, the idea being that you want to free up the d1 square for the white rook. Bishop to e2, you could also go back, but then the idea just comes through. So bishop to e2 attacking the rook, and the rook to f2. Also rook to e1 can be played with the idea of paralyzing the black queen. If the black queen moves, you just take on e2 and you are very happy. But here rook to f2 was played, and now bishop to d3. Here Pragg had a chance of getting back into the game with bishop to c4. It was much needed to guard the e6 square, but the bishop to d3 was played, sort of allowing pawn to e6, but 6 minutes on the clock, Kirill doesn't play it. The idea is simple: you just move the pawn, and you can't really capture with the knight because you allow the queen in, so you're going to have to mess up your pawn structure, and then the queen comes to c3, and it will just be a much better position for white once f5 is played. If the knight moves, the black king will be in big trouble. But king to h2, not wasting a lot of time, just getting the king to safety. Pawn to a5, trying to break this setup on the queen side. Pawn to a4, and now queen to c4. You can't really capture or do anything weird like queen a6, because then just b5, and you lose the knight, you lose the bishop. And so on. So queen to c4, and now b captures on a5. Here b5 was the way to go for Kirill, but a little time on the clock. We have b captures on a5, and now queen to b3. Pragg offers a queen trade. We have queen to c1 declining, and now bishop back to a6. We have queen to e1, and queen captures on a4. So now Pragg is officially back in the game. We have queen to e3, queen to b3, offering a queen trade, and we do have a trade. Queen captures, knight captures, and rook to d5. Kirill wants to trade rooks, but on favorable terms. He would very much love to undouble his doubled e pawn. Knight b captures on a5, and now bishop back to f1. Situation on the clock is Kirill is down to 25 seconds, and Pragg has a minute and 50 seconds on the clock. We have bishop captures on f1, rook captures, and king to e8. Pragg starts bringing his king into the game. Rook f to d1, doubling up on the d file, and rook to c8, avoiding the trade. Rook to d7, and now, the position is playable, to say the least, and Pragg can play even a move like rook to d8. Just trading is enough to hold the game, or you can just push h5, or you can bring the knight to b8, or to e7, but not to b8, the move that Pragg made, because now the position is completely winning for Kirill. Feel free to pause the video and try to figure out what Pragg missed here while I give you a couple of seconds. Yes, the move that was missed is pawn to e6. Here, it's pretty bad, because you cannot take the rook on d7. If you take the rook on d7, then e captures on d7 with check will take the rook on c8 as well. And now once you take this, king captures, the rook will of course beat the knight easily, plus you're also up a pawn, so this is a easily winning endgame. On the other hand, if you play f captures on e6, it's not a problem. Rook captures on h7, and then you already achieved everything you need to, and there's really not much black can do here. Of course, capturing runs into rook to h8, so you have problems there. You're completely paralyzed. So instead, after e6, knight to a6 was played by Pragg. This now allows the c5 pawn to be captured. Rook captures on f7. We have rook captures on c5, and pawn to f5 now. Now Kirill will create another passed pawn. G captures on f5. We have e captures on f5, and knight to c6. We have pawn to f6. There are now two passed pawns here on the 6th rank. Rook to e5 going after the e6 pawn, but Kirill doesn't need it. Rook captures on h7. Rook captures on e6. We have f7 with check, king f8, and now all you need to do is to give a check and promote this pawn into a queen. The problem is if you give a check, king captures on f7. So knowing that, how do you solve it? Of course, rook to f1. This is what Kirill played, and it was in this position on move 44 that Praggnanandhaa resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Rook h8 will be met with king g7 or king e7, and then just f8 queen, and that's it. You get checkmated in a few moves. So Kirill took down Gukesh in round 1. You've seen what happened there. Then he took down Pragg in round 2, and in round 3 he faced Vincent Keimer, who he also defeated fairly swiftly. I mean, Vincent was better. He was the one who was pushing, but as soon as he made that one tactical error, Kirill spotted it, and it was all Kirill from there. So, incredible tactical awareness by Kirill here. His opponent for round 4 tomorrow will be Magnus Carlsen, so we'll see how this will work against him. But for now, he's on 100%. He's on 3 out of 3, leading the tournament. And then in second place, we have Magnus and Nodirbek. Pragg also bounced back a little bit. He defeated Nodirbek in the final in round 3. Also with 3 points, Arjun Erigaisi, Vincent Keimer, with 2, Yang Shishtuv Duda, Wei Yi, and Anish Giri. So the older dudes already falling behind, and Gukesh, our challenger, not having a great start to the tournament, but he rarely does. He always comes back afterwards. So yeah, that's the game and a little bit of extra info about the event. Hope you enjoyed it. Very much interested in how Kirill will do tomorrow against Magnus. Hope you are as well. As if it's not a complete snooze fest, I will probably cover it. So stay tuned for that. I would like to thank Michael Hildebrand, Johan Hoibai, Lorenzo Tessiore, Fred Ackerman, and Chess Legend for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.